Welcome to NoobAquatics. Again, so we are back with another tutorial video or a tips and tricks video here. This one is particularly about vacation. So a lot of people want to take a vacation and they don't want to have to worry about their tanks. So there are several things you can do. And we've tried several of them. So we've tried the blocks where you put in the food blocks and left and come back, and the fish they just don't like them. So half the time the fish don't eat, or maybe one or two fish eat and the block is still pretty much there. So those are pretty much a waste of money in my book. You can use them if your fish like them, but I'm gonna tell you right now, we have lots of fish tanks here, and our fish, we have various different kinds of fish and they just don't like them. Now the snails love it, but keep in mind that if you put it in there for snails, they'll have that block gone within a day or two, so it'll be another waste of your money. But yeah, whenever you go on vacation, one of the best things you want to do is make sure you have two things. You want to make sure you have some kind of battery backup for your pumps, which if you check out one of our other videos there on power outage, it'll show you the pumps that we use. Stupid fly. Show the pumps that we... Get away from me. Flies. I don't know, there's just one fly in here and he seems to just always get right in my face. But yeah, so check out that other video. It's an AQQA battery powered pump, and there's 3 different sizes, and you can get it off of one of 2 locations, Amazon, or you can even get it off of Pet Nanny store, which is where we bought ours, and we got a pretty good discount. So but yeah, so if you're going on vacation, we do have some tips and tricks, and I'll show you what we're gonna do for ours, so that you can at least have an idea of how you can take care of your fish for an extended period of time, like a week, which is how long we're going to be on vacation. So again, check this out and I'll kind of go through what it is. All right, so what you'll see here, this right here is a polycarbonate greenhouse sheet. One side is UV protected and the other side is not, so it lets about 80-85% light in. This comes in a 4 by 8 foot sheet. It's about $80, but you can every now and then find them for about $40 to $50 over at Lowe's or Home Depot. So it's best to shop around. But keep in mind that for one sheet, you can make a lot of lids. So let's take a look at what we did make with these, so you'll know what is possible. So over here on one of our tanks, the Aquarium tank, you'll see that this lid is really nice. You cut it, you can drill holes in it with the right tools up there. Alright, it's very sturdy, so you can see that it's really strong. You can get these handles off Amazon or somewhere, just one of those self-adhesive handles. Alright, if you cut them right, they're pretty good size and they fit in perfect. They also hold in a lot of evaporation, so these prevent evaporation if you're looking to make a lid to prevent that. And they also do let a lot of light through, so as you can see, the amount of light that comes through there is pretty decent, especially for these $10 lights up here. Now in our snail tank here, which yes, there's a lot of snails, but we sell these, so they don't stay very long in this tank. And this right here is another lid. You'll see also very sturdy. I'm pushing pretty hard on it. Alright, you'll see in the center, you can see how thick it is here. Alright, you can make these with it. But then as we are discussing, I'll show you what you can do for vacation. So for tanks where you just have one solid lid, you can do something similar to this. So this right here, I just cut. Now as you can see, I drilled 3 holes. But then right here, you'll see this is an auto feeder. So on these tanks here, specifically, the auto feeders that you can buy, they don't really fit very well on these rims. A lot of them are made for rimless tanks, so it's really difficult to find an auto feeder that will clamp onto the side here. But even if you do, a lot of times if you have these glass lids like this, you'll have your lid open the entire time. That's dangerous. You don't want to have that lid open. If you do, if you have fish that jump or can jump, like betas, or in this tank over here, several of those fish can jump. They'll jump right out of the tank, especially if you have it open for an entire week and they don't know what to do. But yeah, so on here, these auto feeders right here, which are great, battery powered. These are from Aquarium Co-op. I'll show you there. We have a lot of them. You can see over here, there's a lot of them. Alright, and as you can see, I've already tested several of them to find out how much food releases. Put tape on there. This is another recommendation, that if it's feeding too much food, you can put tape on both the left and right side to try to get it to go out of the center. If you put it on the left side, it may shoot food over to this direction here or shoot it over there and end up all over place. So the main thing here is to keep the food going into a particular hole right here so that the food drops down every time and it limits the amount of space that fish can jump out. All right. Now, why are these smaller? These right here are built for the ones that have lids already on them. All right. You see here, this is for our Guppy fry tank. I'm going to just do this. So here, it's got a glass lid. You see? So you don't want to leave this open the entire time. So I built this right here. All right. And it sits in right here. See? So you can have that open the entire time, but not have to worry about anything jumping out. Now this blue will be taken off, and of course the food will be going right here, which is where we feed our guppies every time. So the feeders are put in this particular spot where I normally put my food. So that is what I recommend, getting these polycarbonate sheets and then putting the auto feeders on there. Now these are sealed on there. The ones from Aquarium Co-op come with a self-adhesive sticker. So yeah, so those come with a self-adhesive sticker, and it makes it easy to stick onto that polycarbonate sheet. But yeah, we built those for all of our tanks, and again, like I said, you need to test them. So charge them. It takes about 5 to 6 hours to charge, but then what I've noticed is that the charge does not deplete down. They tend to last a very long time. So I have no doubt that these Aquarium Co-op auto feeders will last the entire week that we're on vacation coming up in the future. So yeah, so that's how you want to make sure you do those, and I'll show you how it works whenever we get it set up and ready to go. So here's another step that you want to do, is testing the auto feeders. So basically what you do is you don't want to buy an auto feeder and not test it prior to going on vacation, because if you don't do that and you set it to the smallest hole, and next thing you know, you got 500 gallons of food in your tank. When you come back, you may have ammonia through the roof, cloudy tanks, all sorts of stuff. So you want to make sure that you test your auto feeders before you go on vacation. So this is how you do it, and I'll show you what we do to make sure we always get the right amount of food in our tanks every rotation. So down here you'll see that I got a paper towel underneath, just a regular paper towel. Of course, this is where I cut the hole here. Now this is using a door hole cutter, I guess is what you would call it. So a drill with a hole cutter. And I made sure to use one that was about 2 inches. You can go a little bit bigger if you want, and you'll see why, because sometimes the food ends up right here. But I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about getting the right amount of food to the fish when the fish need it. So let's take a look to see what happens. So I'm going to pull this off. All right, throw a bunch of food in here. What you doing, buddy?
I'm watching.
Oh, staring at the camera? You don't need to do that. Alright, turn on the auto feeder. Okay. And then what you want to do is there's a little feed button back here. So you don't have to set the timer, just push the button. And then from there, it's going to let out food. Now this is going into one of our grow out tanks, so it needs to give quite a bit of food. So, why didn't it give food? That's because I didn't open it. So let's open it first. Alright. Now it's open. So now it should give out food. So let's watch it. So push the feed button. It rotates, and we'll see how much food it gives. Alright. So you see here, this is what I meant. It kind of drops some food on the thing here, and I'm pretty sure I'll have a ton of food there whenever I come back. But that's just because this side right here is uncovered. So there's a way to kind of limit the amount, and that's using tape. It's our best friend in this. So now what you want to do is you want to measure out how much food it actually put on the paper towel. So let's scrape this here. Take that off. And take a look. So there's how much food it actually gave out. You can see it's a small little pile. Alright, now there's going to be some bigger pellets in here, so some of the bigger fish can eat. But this right here, we need to feed probably somewhere about 100 fish or more twice a day. So let's reduce it down just a little bit and then try again. So how do we reduce it? Like I said, we use the masking tape. That's my foot over there. So first things first, let's put the food back. Alright, food back in there. Alright, that's back on. I'm telling you, Ohio's power grid is horrible. If you choose to live somewhere, make sure you research whether or not the power grid is good enough for whenever you have fish tanks. Otherwise, you may get tons of flashing and flickering and flopping and flooping with the electricity.
That was because the light was going down. The percentage of the light.
All right, thanks, bud. What about that one?
That was too. It's 6 o'clock.
Mr. Smarty Pants over here.
Are you
All right.
include that?
What'd you say, buddy?
I said, are you gonna cut out that stuff, this thing you said, Mr. Smarty Pants over there? Are you gonna cut it out?
You know what he's talking about?
You said, okay, Mr. Smarty Pants. And that's if you're going to cut it out of the video.
Probably not. Why? There's no point in cutting it out. I'll cut out the stuff that's wrong and not wrong. Alright, so this is what we did. So we took some tape, and you'll see here that we just kind of covered the hole, half of the hole. Alright, remember we're going to have some bigger pellets come out of there. So now we got half of it covered, and you want to make sure you rub it in there. So rub it in really good, that way it stays. And you'll want to do that after you ensure that it's given the right amount of food. So let's put this back on here. Snap. Bring this over and test it again. And now you can do this on a table or anything. I just happen to do it on the floor because it's right next to the fish room. Alright, and this is what I do. Alright, so let's take a look and push the feed button and watch to see how much food we get. Boom. Looks like we got a lot more food this time. So as you can see, these are inconsistent. So take a look at that. Even more food than last time, and yet we closed off the hole. Pretty crazy, right? Alright, let's put the food back. Try again. And you keep doing this over and over and over until you got the right amount of food that you want to feed your fish. Now give me. Pour the food back in there. That's why I use paper towels and not a paper plate, because it's really difficult to fold a paper plate. So if you want to put the food back, you just fold the paper towel. Much easier to do. Paper plates harder to do, which is what I've seen people use online or on YouTube. So alright, let's try this. Made the hole smaller. Made the hole smaller. Let's see how much food it gives. Push feed. Let's watch it. Oh, there you go. A lot less food. Now more, it's a bunch on the thing there, but a lot less food. So if we take this, and like I said, that food up on the top there, I'm not too worried about it. It's hard to do with one hand, isn't it? Use my foot. Alright, so tap that off there. Yeah, so as you can see, a lot less food. So that should be a good amount of food right there for our baby acaras. We'll do that twice a day for them. Alrighty. So that's how you test the auto feeder. And you'll want to continue doing that over and over until you got the right amount. Now it's not going to be perfect, so just know that, and just know that before you go on vacation, you're going to need to thoroughly clean your tank. That way it's very clean. Not, you know, don't destroy your nitrogen cycle by using clean water. Make sure you always use tank water when you clean out your filter pads and stuff like that. But you want to do a thorough substrate deep cleaning, moving objects, clean the substrate, that type of thing, which we've already done on all of our tanks this week. And you know, we will make sure that we have it all cleaned out and taken care of, so that when we come back we'll do the same thing, because we know that there's going to be more food fed than what we would normally do with our little pinches. So and watching, these auto feeders are not consistent, so just know that going into it. But the good part is that your fish will be fed, so hopefully you have a way to clean it. And a week isn't really a long time, so overfeeding for a week won't destroy your tank unless you do not you know, test the auto feeders. Now if you just open it up and start feeding and it gives gallons of food, then yeah, it may destroy your tank by the time you get back, or your fish will be really fat because they overeat. So one of the two. All right, we'll continue this at the next stages. We're back here at NoobAquatics, and we're about ready to go on vacation tomorrow. So let's take a look to see what we did. So before you go, you want to make sure, like I said, you test your auto feeders and that they make sure that you get the right amount of food out for your fish. Just know that it's never going to be perfect. So if any food comes out and they get something, it's going to be good. But yeah, so the auto feeders we feed at 8 o'clock, 4 o'clock, so that's what we're going to have it set for. 1 second here. So that's what we have it set for. And we actually have it rotating only once for every single thing, because just so you know, fish, they can pretty much go an entire week without eating. Now some fish have a little harder time, such as, you know, brand new babies, that type of thing. But if your tanks are well established, then the infusoria and all that other stuff that's in there, little crustaceans and stuff that are in there growing, may be just enough for them to survive after a week. But outside of that, auto feeders is the way to go. So let's take a look to see what I did when I installed these auto feeders, and I'm going to show you on the 3 10-gallon tanks. Remember that what I did was I cut out sheets of polycarbonate greenhouse panels, and then cut holes and basically permanently stuck them to these holes. So let's take a look at what they look like. So over here, this is my son's 10-gallon tank, and like I said, I cut out this sheet, and it's just a small sheet here, the size of the first part of the glass, and it runs all the way across. Now this will help retain the moisture while we're away. And then it has the hole here, and it's a small enough hole that, you know, Mr. German Blue here can't jump out. But you know, it doesn't mean that the cherry barbs can't, but we're hoping that they don't. No matter what you do, you're going to have openings. But yeah, so we have this set up, taped, because we measured it. All right, this is where the food goes in, and we have it turned on and ready to go. All right, and we did that for all the 10s. Now, depending on where we're feeding them, normally that's where the auto feeders are. So you don't want to set up the auto feeder in a location where you don't normally put the food. We almost always put the food here for this tank, so that's where the auto feeder is. All right, and it's got the food on the inside there ready to go and rotate. And remember, like I said, any food is better than none. So we have it rotating twice. Might be a little easier to see here. You see it's got the 2 dots, 1, 2, that's twice, and it's just one rotation each time. Let's take a look at the last tank. All right, and this is the last 10-gallon tank here, and as you can see, same thing. The sheet is cut out, the glass is still on, so we didn't even have to remove the lids. These are just replacements, so basically vacation lids with the hole and the auto feeder, and these never come off. This helps retain moisture, and it's always in the location of where we feed the fish. So reason is because if you look here, there's floating plants, so if you put food right on top of the floating plants, the fish will never get fed. So yeah, so that's the 10-gallon tanks, and so yeah. So now let's go and let's take a look at what we did to install on the 75-gallon, the 40-gallon, and then of course we'll come back after vacation and then I'll show you and see how they did and see how gunked up the tanks are and see how much food actually got released. So stay tuned. So let's take a look at the 75, 40, and a few of the other tanks here, and then explain why we're not putting them on a few tanks over on this side over here. So let's take a look at the 75. So on the 75, one thing that everybody has a problem with is that it has 2 lids. Alright, so again, this is where our idea comes in, and you cut a piece polycarbonate sheet that fits perfectly in here where the original fold is. As you can see, it's there. That's the glass lid. Hole here, this is where the food is. Alright, it's set for 2 times a day. This is where we normally feed at, but because we are leaving the filter on here, alright, it's going to blow the food everywhere, and it's going to give them a chance to actually eat it. They all think they're getting fed. See, this guy right here has eggs, so he's going to be a little grumpy fart while he's, you know, down here for the whole week. So he may scatter people around, and hopefully people will be able to get the food before he scares them all away, or the filter will blow it around enough to where he's not, you know, just hoarding all the food in one spot. So, but that's how you do the 75. You just put it on one side here. All right, 40, same thing. Just a little bit bigger piece because the 40 is one solid lid. Alright, same thing here. Put it on the side where you feed. I even did it for the 20 long. Food up here, 20 long. Food down there, 20 long. Same thing. These are just full-size lids though. Alright, and you can see there's the other lids right here. Alright, we just took them off, replaced them because they don't have a fold in the center and we don't have glass lids. Alright, there's the 20 long on the bottom. This is doing a lot better down here now that I've cleaned it out and got it all cleaned up and everything. So this is doing better now. So I hopefully none of those die before we get back. Puffer tank. Why are we not putting one on the puffer tank? Well, because they get meat, or should I say snails. So tomorrow we're going to take a giant handful of snails out of there and just plop them in and just hope they survive for the week, which they should. They tend to pick and choose after this. Plus they got ghost shrimp in there. If they really get hungry, they can just eat one of them. And as you can see, this puffer right here was following one of the ghost shrimp. But well, we'll see. We'll see if they survive. And in the substrate, there's black worms. Down there, we're not putting a auto feeder on there because we put plants in there. Those plants will pretty much all be gone by the time we get back. As you can see, they're already starting to eat them. That'll be enough food for them in there, and there's food in the substrate and everything, so these guys won't die. We had a bunch of ram's horn and pond snails in a tub for over, what was it, 2 weeks, maybe 3? Yeah. 2-3 weeks, and they didn't die. They were all still alive, and they bred, and they still had eggs in there, so they're pretty hardy. Unfortunately hard to kill too, so unless you feed them to something, but that's what we got going on in here. Everything else is doing in there. As you can see, that's empty. We fed all the brine shrimp, adult, you know, I guess you could say juvenile brine shrimp, to the big tanks, so they got fed well. All right, so yeah, so we don't put one on here because these guys will survive no matter what we do. Here they get a bunch of snails, and they should just do what they do in the wild, just hunt for food. Hopefully they find it. They should survive even if they don't for a whole week. And the last one is our Guppy fry tank that, of course, like I said, is going to get an upgrade here, but it's in the future, so this is a temporary setup. We have the plants on the right side here, so the food is going to be going on the left side. As soon as it hits the water, you'll see here it's going to spread it everywhere, so it'll give them a chance to all get food in there. Alright, we have it scheduled for 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock on every single one. Alright, so that's what we do right before a vacation, is we make sure we have the auto feeder set up and hope that they actually feed properly. They got food in every single auto feeder, enough to last for a week, but because the auto feeders may or may not give the right amount of food, it may not last the whole week. But the good part is that even if it does feed all of the food, most fish can survive for an entire week. We know because we've medicated fish many times where we haven't fed them, and then we also medicate fish and feed them, so it all depends on the situation. Most fish will survive, but if they have any food or just a little food, that's enough for them to just feel happy. We gave the shrimp a larger dose of Bacter AE, so that should keep them alive. And there's some bigger chunks of food in with your feeder guppies to help feed the snails, so that should keep the mystery snails alive, assuming that the ammonia doesn't spike up again while we're gone because of what I did to the tank. So we are monitoring it, but on vacation it's really hard to monitor. But we did take care of it. Lots of water changes, lots of cleaning, so it should fix itself within the next day or two based on what we're seeing currently now. But yeah, so that's what we do for a vacation, and that's how we get all of our auto feeders up and connected to the tank. Thanks again, and stay tuned, and we'll show you what happens when we get back. So let's take a look at what the tanks look like after vacation. Alright, so we're back from vacation, so let's take a look at our tanks to see how well they did. Some takeaways from these auto feeders and how they actually performed, and how the tanks look, as well as the fish, and my thoughts on whether or not they died or not. So let's take a look at the tanks. So here's the Guppy holding tank for the grow outs. You can see not a single one of them in there are dead. So every one of the guppies survived. There's this thing here. There was a little food up here, but I kind of brushed it off. So let's go look at one I haven't touched. You can see that the ammonia is still good. All right, 75. All right, no ammonia spikes. But if you look here, you see a lot of that food ended up back there. All right. And you're gonna get that, especially with a hole this big for the size of tank that I had. In the tank, the fish, they all look healthy. There's no cloudy water, none of that. I did have a massive growth of floating plants, so I have to clear those out. All the plants over here are pointing that way because of it, because they can't see the light. So but yeah, they all look healthy. I got a ton more eggs that they put on this apoptogentin, bulb or whatever this thing is. More eggs for the flagfish. All the other eggs are gone, but there's more on this thing now, so they're just constantly laying them, and they're just providing snacks for the other fish. And just realized I have Malaysian trumpet snails in here getting bigger. Those had to have come in on a plant or something. You can see one there, one here. Here's the pistos. They're looking pretty healthy, and they've gotten bigger. I can't believe how big they've gotten in 1 week. So they must have been getting lots of food. So yes, that's how this one looks here. All right, here's the 40. All right, you can see here that this one didn't quite have any food on the edge here, which is okay. Did really good. You can see there's still a ton of food left in there. All of them look good. Now there's one takeaway that I'm going to kind of pull here and let you know, is that these auto feeders are not meant for snails and keeping them fed. So you see here's the mystery snails. They're all happy in this tank. This one right here, we're not really sure of just yet. He doesn't look like he's doing very well. He's got some damage to his shell, so I'm assuming one of the other snails were eating them. So that's a good possibility. But yeah, so keep in mind that it's not meant, the auto feeders are not meant for snails. So try to have a plan for your snails, or have plants. And as you can see, they didn't really eat much of the plants either, so it's kind of crazy. But yeah, other than that, all the fish are alive in here. White one's lost more of his tail, so he's probably being a bully again and getting his tail bit off. I'm surprised that guy even has a tail left. The girls like to beat him up because he was being a bully before. So guppies, all these little guys here are alive. Plants are doing good. We had an explosive growth in the lily in the back. That was only like this big when we left. Now it's all the way up to the top. So that's what that looks like there. Here's the acar grow out. You can see great here. They've all, what looks like, more than doubled in size since we've been gone. Their colors look great. These are going to be some beautiful acaras in here. The electric blues are also going to be beautiful. You can see already showing the dark blue in here. Alright, and the acaras in there, they're going to be really pretty. So these guys are going to be really pretty in here. Plants. Alright, snail tank. You can see not much food on the thing on the back. This tank is a little cloudy, but it does get a little bit more direct sunlight. But as you can see, this one's been fixed. So this is the one that we were correcting before we left. We had an ammonia spike, and now the ammonia spike is gone. Most likely I'm gonna have to change out this water quite seriously and test the pH and see if it crashed again. That might be why the ammonia is gone, but we'll find out and see how everything's doing in there. Other than that, everything else looks pretty good. Threw a bunch of snail food in there, so we'll see how many snails actually survived that. Puffers, like I said, all we did was throw in a massive handful of snails. You can see all the snails in there, and there's a shrimp shell or shrimp right there, so they must have ripped the legs off that shrimp and got hungry and did what they were supposed to do to those ghost shrimp. But yeah, other than that, like I said, I have a massive explosion of plants up here on the top. That's crazy. Barely even see the top of the tank, but puffers like that, so all the plants in there are doing really well. They've all shot up as well. Alright. The air is not going on one of these, which is really odd. I don't know why. Why is the air not going on one of these? Huh. So I'll have to figure that out. Find out why the air is not going on this tank back here in the back. Here, babe, will you hold this? Need to find out why the air is not going on this thing. Oh, it fell off. Must have got really hot in that window. So crazy. Alright, so we had a little issue here. This right here must have got really hot because it's in direct, view of this light right here. So it must be at the 100-degree days. This right here came apart and it just fell down. So the air on this right side, wasn't working. But we have two sides with air, so they all survived. Not sure how long that was going like that, but they survived. No ammonia. And you can see they're all in there happy, and they're ready for their bloodworms, which I'm going to go get. And of course, here is the ram's horn tank. Everything in there looks good, and if they died in there, that's okay. They will continue to breed. I'm going to have to check the pH of this here, pH of the tank over there, order some more pH adjusters until the organized sand can start doing its job. But yeah, those look good. Let's go look at the other tanks. Alright, we're now in our kids' rooms. Let's take a look at their tanks and all the fish. In this tank here, it looks like someone's digging. Probably him, but we don't know. We don't ever catch him in the act, so hopefully we'll catch him in the act. That crypt is going crazy. But yeah, so everything in here looks good. Plants on the back are looking great. This one has a ton of food left in it. Fish are all doing happy in there. Alright, how about his snails? I don't see his mystery snails. His gold one's back there, and the other one's probably who knows where, but I'll tell you what, the auto feeders, there he is up there. The auto feeders are not meant for snails. But yeah, the fish look great, no spikes in there. Let's take a look in here. Alright, well, the beta's looking happy. There's like 400 baby guppies in here we're gonna have to get out. Yeah, some plants been eaten, but that's, given. I took out a lot of the floating plants in here, but they looks like they're doing pretty good. Alright, let's take a look at his mystery snails. That purple one right there does not look like it's doing very well. It's probably dead. Where's the other one? And the other one's right there. Also probably not doing very well, but they did throw green beans in there, so hopefully they'll smell that and go in there, and they will do good. But that's sad if we lost them. Snails are not meant for vacation, I'm gonna tell you that. No food on the ledge here, so you have to figure something out. So we'll have to figure something out for snails, mystery snails, on vacation, or just get rid of them altogether. I don't see the Narite snail in there, but hopefully the Narite snails are doing okay. The Narite snail in there is normally you know, hiding all the time anyways. Same thing with this tank. Hard to find the Nerite snail in there pretty much any given time. All right, let's go look at the last tank. All right, and here's the last tank. So you can see not much food up there at the top, a little bit of crumbs. Plants are doing great in the back. In fact, those are way more back there. All right, the fish, again, weigh tons of baby guppies, but we're gonna get rid of all them and put them in with the feeder guppies out there. But yeah, mystery snail in the back there doing good. Mystery snail here doing good. So the mystery snails in this tank's doing good. Purple mystery snails, I'm gonna tell you right now, there's something going on with those purple mystery snails. They have some issues, so yeah. So that's what we got in here going on. That brown one looks amazing back there in the back, by the way. The root structure on there just did some craziness. Yeah. So yeah, it looks good. Doesn't look like it's, you know, overly done or anything like that. Everything looks good. Let's go back to the front. Alright, so we came back in here. This is my middle boy's tank. We were having trouble finding one of the fish. So this is what you get whenever you leave. I don't know if you see that right there. That's one of his fish. It's a tiger indler. He jumped out and had no way to get back in, and basically just dried out. Well, that happens sometimes. Not much you can do about that. Everything else in there is alive, but again, we are taking all the guppies out of this tank, so I mean that's going to be a given. Alright, so that was how we handle vacation with all the tanks that we have here in the house. Like we have said here, the vacation feeders, they work and you can throw them in there for your snails, but just know that snails will pretty much devour those things in a day or two. So we tried that, it didn't work with the snails. But so when you're gone for a week or so, just know that your snails, if you keep them as pets, such as mystery snails, or Nerite snails. Nerite snails normally do really good, but mystery snails, they're the one weird, finicky one that they require feeding. They don't do very good eating algae across the tank, but they are fun pets to have. But yeah, so just to follow up here, what happened, the purple mystery snails in my boys' room, one of them survived, he was just hungry, and the other one, he didn't. So we lost one of those purple mystery snails. We lost that little tiger indler, which is a bummer, but like I said, sometimes you know, fish just jump out of the tank, and when you're on vacation, it's pretty difficult to put back in there when you don't know what happened. And you know, all the auto feeders did what they were supposed to do. I checked the charge. There's probably still another 5.5 months left of charge on those auto feeders from Aquarium Co-op. So they are pretty good auto feeders. Everything looked great. The fish are all healthy. Nobody was sick. No bacterial or fungal infections, that type of thing. So yeah, that kind of gives us insight as to how well we're taking care of our fish and whether or not they can last for an entire week without too much interaction between us. The takeaways from this is that you need auto feeders for your tanks. You need a way to connect them to your tank. What we used was just buying one $80 sheet, and we were able to create a way to connect our auto feeders to 8 tanks and create a total of 4 lids for 4 different aquariums. So you get your money's worth out of those greenhouse you know, polycarbonate sheets. So you get that. And then you know, just know that the auto feeders, if you don't test them, you're probably going to give too much food. So test them beforehand. That's a good thing. Make sure that you have some kind of backup power for when the power goes off, so that, you know, the air pumps, that type of thing. And just pray and hope that when you get back, your fish all survived, or at least pray that you don't lose too many of them, because death in the aquarium hobby is a given. Stuff's gonna die. Sometimes they die for no apparent reason, or sometimes they die because they jump out of the tank and dry out on top. I've had a pleco do that, or even had a pleco that jumped up into the back of a hang on the back filter and somehow got stuck in there and didn't survive because he was stuck within the flow and not actually stuck in the water. So anything can happen in an aquarium. But yeah, so that's what we do here at NoobAquatics when we're on vacation, and we're happy that you were able to come and view this video. And I hope that our tips here for vacation help you have a great time while you're out wherever you are and away from your fish family. Have a great day.